This conference will now be recorded.
There we go. All right. For those who have tuned into the recording, we're getting started with the Manatee Awareness Coalition meeting. This is our agenda. We're just going to do quick intros. I'll give you an update on the statewide Manatee Forum, and Kate or anyone else from FWC, if you want to add anything there, you're welcome to, as well as the mortality and rescue stats. We'll give y'all an update on what the outreach working group has been doing, and if you're part of that, feel free to pitch in some info as well. And then anyone can make announcements, anything that might be related or interesting to this group, you're welcome to bring up. And we'll talk about our next steps. So briefly, the statewide Manatee Forum is a meeting that's held twice a year, I think it is. And Kate, feel free to correct me if you have any better information. This was announced, it's going to be on November 15th and 16th at the Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, the FWRI building in St. Pete. It'll be in person. These are the subjects that they'll go over. People are coming from across the state. They'll give an update on the unusual mortality event that's mostly on the East Coast. There's going to be a presentation on thermal refuges. There will be an update on the 2021-22 abundance estimate, and that will be the first update since I think the 2018-19 or 2017-18, I'm not sure, abundance estimate. And remember that this is regional, and they're broader regions than just like the Tampa Bay region. I believe it's just like the entire Gulf Coast of Florida as an abundance estimate. They'll get updates from FWC law enforcement, U.S. Fish and Wildlife, and USGS. They'll go over some stuff on the legislative session and open it up for suggested topics at the next meeting, which is in a few months. This is open to the public, the forum is, so if you're interested, you're welcome to go. It's not really a public comment type of event, so you can't really go and raise your hand and just provide input on all kinds of things, but if you want to be there to listen and learn and maybe chat with people opportunistically in the hallway, that sort of thing, you're more than welcome to attend. So if you have any questions about that, let me know, and I can send you the details too. This is, the older manatee population estimate is 1516, not 1718. So the 2021-22 estimate will update this number. And again, this is for the entire west coast of Florida. So quickly, the mortalities, there have been 89 in the entire year of 2023 thus far. You can see the different reasons for the mortalities here that have been estimated by FWC staff. This is compared to 489 deaths throughout the entire state. So not a crazy high number for Tampa Bay. I can't remember if it's on par with last year or the year before, but I can send you the link if you're interested in looking up how it compares over time. Kate, I see your comment. Great, thank you. Yeah. There's been some discussion over what natural means by the FWC definition, and I'll work on getting you a better explanation of that. Or Kate, if you want to throw a definition into the chat, you're welcome to do that as well.
What was that? Sorry, I was.
That's okay. Yeah, I was just saying I remember we were talking about what natural means as far as the manatee mortalities, and I cannot remember. I think it includes deaths from harmful algal blooms, but also emaciation or other issues too. Do you know what the definition is of natural?
Your voice cut out for that specific word.
Oh, do you have a definition of natural for related to manatee mortality?
Natural?
Natural?
Natural. Oh, sorry. I
that's
do
okay.
not have a definition for that, sorry.
Okay. That's okay.
But I'm sure we will out at the forum.
Yeah, for sure. Yep. Do y'all have any questions about the mortality update thus far? And I can't see y'all, so either just speak up or put it in the chat. I'm sharing my screen, so I can't actually see your beautiful faces right now. Okay. So rescue updates. There have been 20 rescues in the area, Hillsborough, Manatee, and Pinellas thus far this year. There have been 124 rescues statewide in that same time frame. I am not sure what the outcome of these rescues were. Some of them could either have been successful or could have resulted in mortality. That is not clear thus far, but if we're interested in getting that 2023 wrap up, I can request that from the Manatee lab that's here in St. Pete, and they can give us a much more thorough update at the next meeting. So just let me know in chat or verbally if that's a type of update that you're interested in getting. Is the new moat complex going to have a rehab facility? I do not know. I'm not sure. I'm not even sure about the new moat complex. Denise, do you have any other details on that?
They're building it in Sarasota. So I just wondered, I mean, there's kind of been rumors in the grapevine that they would have like a second stage rehab there, like Bishop does, but I just wondered if anyone had anything definite on that.
I don't know anything. Anybody else here have any info? Thanks for that definition, Kate. That's helpful. Yeah, Denise, I am not sure. But do you know who at Moat might be best to reach out to and ask about that? Any idea?
No, I don't.
Okay. Okay. Well, I'll make a note of that and we can maybe get some info on that next time too. All right. So those are most of the updates for today, and then we're going to go into the outreach planning working group. I am going to just check my email real quick to make sure that we don't have anybody having issues with the link, because I know there were at least 4 other people that said they were coming today and they're not here, so I'm hoping they're not having an issue. Nope. All right. Well, let me go back to sharing my screen. So, your fellow coalition members, I'm not sure if any of you here today, other than Blake, have been part of the outreach working group that has been meeting periodically. Chelsea, Denise, Kate, and Linka, you have been to that. So we've been hard at work developing an outreach plan for the rest of the coalition. The plan is coming together in the form of a draft grant application. So we tentatively plan to apply for the Tampa Bay Environmental Restoration Fund, or TBERF for short. It's a grant that opens at the beginning of the year. We at the Estuary Program manage that grant, so it just seems like a good opportunity to sort of have a date to set a goal for. TBERF is mostly focused on restoration projects, but it can fund behavior change campaigns as well. It may not be the best fit for this type of outreach project, but even if not, I think we decided to select the TBERF application as just a place setting for the date and something to work toward. So we do plan to have a draft ready in January that we will bring back to the full MAC coalition to review and approve. And even if we don't get the TBRF grant, it will allow us to have this draft that's ready for other opportunities that might arise that we could apply for. We could also get some good feedback from the TBRF review committee to make the project that much stronger and potentially useful to the coalition. There are still a few decisions that need to be made, mostly whether or not the project is going to be tied to a specific tactic or intervention, as those in the social science world call it, like our Dr. Blake here. And it could consist of, one intervention and before and after surveys of the same small group of people, or we could decide to go the more generic route. So it will be more outreach for the sake of general education. So that's a decision that needs to be made. Examples of the type of tactic or intervention are classes that might be led by some of the experts here in the coalition, brochures that could be developed and handed out at specific locations, could be educational signs at marinas or educational tours, specific advertisements to specific areas or demographics, or mailers to specific addresses. So with the first option, we could select a specific tactic. We would select a specific set of individuals, and we would test their knowledge or adherence to Manatee etiquette guidelines, both before and after that education was given to them or that tactic was undertaken. That data would help us make assumptions about whether or not the outreach tactic that we chose was effective or not, and perhaps be able to make recommendations for further behavior change studies or recommendations for expanding that specific type of outreach to broader audiences. So that is one option. With the second option, the more generic outreach for the sake of education, we wouldn't be able to make strong assumptions about the impact of our tactics or interventions, because we might be choosing more than one, or we might not do a before and after survey with the same people. So we would basically be trying to reach as many people as possible with the outreach or education tactic that we chose. So it's more like getting it out to the masses. So I'd love to hear from y'all if you have thoughts on this choice that's in front of us. So from here, any of the feedback that you might have, we can take back to the working group to consider for which direction they decide to go. So again, option one, do we want to carry out a behavior change applied research project that tests one specific tactic's effectiveness on increasing manatee etiquette knowledge and adherence to those best practices? Or two, would we rather reach as many boaters and coastal residents as possible with educational information in the hopes that it increases manatee etiquette knowledge and adhering to those best management practices or best practices, but we wouldn't have any real hard data to point to the effectiveness of those tactics that we undertook? So if we can just go around the room briefly. I'm going to stop sharing my screen so I actually can see you guys. Well, maybe first of all, Blake, did I describe this choice accurately? Does this, yeah, okay. Do you have any input or clarity to provide to everybody on what I just said?
No, I think that pretty much summarizes it. Yeah.
Okay. So Kate, Denise, Chelsea, Linka, I'd love to get your input on this choice. More generic, or option one is more specific, so we can test a specific tactic. Option two is more just blanket education. So what do y'all think?
I like option two better.
Somebody just spoke up for a second, but it went out.
Denise, Friends of Manatee's option 2.
Yeah. Can you tell me why you'd be more interested in that?
It seems easier and just less, just more education and trying to research and gauge how much somebody's learned. I don't know, it just might kind of take the fun out of it. I don't know.
Heard that, yeah.
Going off of that, I was going to suggest like some of the detractions to doing like the thought that I have, which is the more researched way, because to my thinking, if we want to do like long-term activities, we want to know if they're successful and we want to know if our first attempt is successful. So the detraction is, that it takes additional resources, and so I'm curious, like, if we can optimize how, the social science, resources we would need to accomplish the goal, right? But I think it would be better if we can somehow do a component where we can study the effectiveness, because otherwise could be talking to avoid for a long time and not know if we're making an impact. So I guess it's the devil's advocate part for me.
Yeah. And Chelsea messaged me. Hopefully we don't have an interruption with another meeting that was supposed to start, y'all. But if we do, just log back in. I'm getting a notice on the go-to meeting that there is another meeting that might interrupt, but I'm pretty sure that one's canceled. So, Chelsea's mic is not working, but she said option 2 is preferable. The more blanket education could potentially reach a broad audience. Hey, Jim. Kate and Blake, I'm wondering if y'all have any input.
I think it seems like option 2 might be more feasible for the size of our group and the goals that we are looking for. But I'm fine with being told that we should do something else too, that we can do something different.
Yeah. Gotcha.
I mean, as a researcher who does this, I'm always partial to the more impact evaluation driven approach. I agree with Kate. This is, I don't want this to be something that, I take over and that I do. I want it to be something that, the members of MAC can do and feel empowered to do and are excited to do. So, if the group feels that, this kind of more robust research driven approach, it's really sort of beyond most folks' capacity. I don't want them to have to sort of feel like they need to shepherd it off, to me, and instead they can do something that, you know, that they have the means to do and they're able to, get their hands really sort of in the mix. So I'll default to whatever the group wants.
Yeah. I don't want it to become your problem either, Blake. This definitely should be a coalition project. So, Jim, we're just discussing that we sort of have a choice to make on the outreach project that we're tentatively planning. Option 1 being do something that's more capable of being evaluated. So a very specific singular tactic is tested and surveys could be done before and after to see if that tactic is meaningful and could be reproduced and taken out to a broader group. That would only target a small amount of people. Or option two is to do more outreach and education for the sake of outreach and education to reach a broader audience. So we're just sort of discussing the pros and cons of that, and if we have a preference for one or the other. If you have any input, feel free to speak up. I gotta say, I'm really torn on it myself because option one, I agree. I would rather know if what we're doing is making a difference or not. I also know, having not been part of these types of projects before, like Blake is saying, like, I feel like I would rely heavily on those of you that have done this kind of research before. And I don't know if we have many other professionals within the coalition that have done this type of work, specifically in social sciences. It could be something that if we did decide to go with option one, we approached the social science subcommittee to see if there were some practitioners who were interested in being more of a lead on the project and having the support of the coalition. So that could be an option. In option two, I agree that it could give the coalition members something to coalesce around and something to be excited about and really get involved in a very hands-on way. But again, I am hesitant to yet again do some sort of education or outreach tactic that we're not sure is actually doing anything. So I am truly torn on this. It might very well come down to just capacity and ability of this group to do something like that. So it may not really be a choice at the end of the day. It may just be, well, it has to be option two because we don't have the leadership needed to do something like option one. So it may very well come down to that instead of an actual decision.
Jessica, my question would be for option one. What would the end use be? I mean, who would benefit from this, and who is there anybody in particular asking for it? Any organization asking for it?
I can't say there's a specific organization asking for it, but I do think that there's very much a desire to know what moves people, what reaches specific demographics. Is it a type of language? Is it a type of platform or mode that reaches them? Mailers versus social media, that sort of thing. So I can't say that there's like a specific group that I can think of that's asking for this information, but even we at the estuary program are always wanting to figure out what works and what doesn't so that we can apply that outcome or those recommendations to other work that we do. And I'm sure groups like Save the Manatees and FWC would also appreciate that information.
Well, I've looked on your estuary website, and I've seen some of the films and the outreach. I think at some point you may have created a character, or they're nice little films that you made primarily to uh, uh, educate kids, but they're well done. Have they been effective? Do you have any kind of monitoring of that?
I'm not sure. So I haven't been here. I've only been with the estuary program a couple years, so I'm not sure about which videos you're talking about. The only one I can think of is the hard bottom habitat. Maybe is that one that you saw, or are you thinking of different ones?
No, there was three or four videos, and they were really very nicely put together, and they really are. The audience are kids, and probably
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
not infants, but maybe fifth to fourth, fifth, sixth grade,
mm-hmm.
young, yeah, young. So I mean, so no, I thought they're fairly well done, and I just I can see that I can account for the effort that was put into the making those, and I go, did it do anything? And it'd be interesting to see
Yeah.
the other outreach that you've done, how effective it's been. Because yeah, that to me seems like we haven't done any evaluations of the effect of our past outreach. I see. Um,
We do have, Jessica, I think it might be it's probably a T-Birth project because I imagine it was more expensive than a Bay Mini grant. But we have, I can't remember who it was, but they put together that, what is it? That video that features Maya in it and other folks from like estuaries in Louisiana.
Is
Uh,
it Dear Tampa Bay?
yeah, that Dear Tampa
Yeah.
Bay, I think. We
I
have that, and
Go ahead.
that's like an educational video. And that one for each of like the screenings that they do, they kind of have like a soft measure of impact in the sense that all the people who watch the movie, they fill out like a questionnaire before they watch it that asks them how much they know about, the different topics that are in there, and then they do a post movie measure to sort of gauge how much they learned from the video. That's the only thing I can think of that we have done in the past. But so
And
even
I
just
think
things
that
like
is
that,
still ongoing,
yeah.
right?
hmm. I just on another side note, in the last 2 weeks, I've been out on my sailing kayak, and I've had two manatee encounters. Literally, they came up
Nice.
underneath the boat, which is very cool, and I got splashed. It was wonderful. So they are out there.
For sure, yeah. Yeah, I was just so you know, Jim, the Manatee statewide forum is coming up November 15th and 16th. Um, let me We went over that briefly at the beginning. Let me just show that to you real quick. It's open to the public for attendance. You can't really go and like speak or anything like that, but you can go and listen and talk to some of the professionals that attend at the end. They're going to be giving updates on the newest abundance estimate for manatees across the state. So we'll have a little more updated data there too.
That's fantastic.
Somebody just joined. Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be good to maybe go to that and maybe get some feedback on what is needed before we?
Yeah, I think that's definitely I usually go to these and it's run by FWC, so Kate and Michelle Pasowicz and others run that meeting and also attend some of these meetings. So it certainly would be helpful to just go and listen to some of the hurdles that some of the other people in the state are dealing with. It is statewide, so it's not specific to Tampa Bay. It just happens to be held in St. Pete. But yeah, just learning more about the issues that others are encountering. And even at the very end, there's an open discussion where you can pitch ideas for the next forum. And sometimes those are taken up, sometimes not. But it's always interesting to hear what people say during that, I think, because it's like, what did we not get a presentation on that maybe other people are thinking about or have um, issues that need to be overcome as well. So it's very informative. It's definitely helpful to go to those meetings.
I
So
guess.
I've taken some notes on. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess my thought would be let's whoever send someone to attend that conference and come back with
Jim, were
feedback.
you
Yeah,
going to say something?
am I yeah, my thought would be now that that information is to us or to me, about the fact that this quorum is happening. maybe attend that before we make this decision on which direction we should be taking. If there's a void for us to be filling, um, that would maybe give us better guidance.
Sure. Yeah, I plan to attend it. I think it would be great if others did as well. Um, I'm not sure what we wouldn't get specific feedback on this project proposal, but it could be something where we opportunistically get to talk to some other practitioners throughout the state and maybe just chat with them about what we're thinking about and seeing if they have any feedback or if they'd even like look over the plan or something like that. So yeah, I think it definitely would be beneficial to
Is
at
it,
least attend.
and where is this happening?
It's at the Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, downtown St. Pete.
Yeah. I
Yeah,
would be glad to volunteer myself to attend if,
sure. Yeah. Yeah, that would be great. I plan to be there for most of it, but it would be great to have another pair of ears to help report back to the broader MAC as well. Jim, will you remind me and I'll forward you the email with all the details.
I'm sorry, repeat that again?
I said if you'll remind me, I'll send you the email with all the details in there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
will do. Yeah. Okay.
It might be interesting to propose also this as an idea to that social science subcommittee and see if there's anyone that wants to kind of, donate pro bono support or something to this project because I feel like we, need additional resources to be able to do it well. But my thinking is also like, I've seen like on, I think Save the Manatee Club has like a, or maybe it's, I can't remember who it is, but there's like a collection of all the manatee brochures and posters and all of the communications materials.
Hmm.
But I remember at one of the recent meetings, somebody was saying like, there's no common understanding about what boaters should even do. So like, if we pick something specific like that, like maybe we need to streamline boater communicate. I feel like we have such a great project that we would want to know, in some way, shape, or form if it reaches its intended purpose. So I'm with you, Jessica. I'm so torn
Yeah.
on it. But I feel
Yeah.
like, I mean, we could propose it as like put it out there and say, is anyone interested in supporting? And then we could see like, hey, do we have additional, resources?
Hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and Blake added into the chat the option one, the one that really has the evaluation aspect to it, is definitely more likely to get funded by TBER. If it's just education for the sake of education and there's no real behavior change evaluation, it's not going to get funded by TBER. So it would really just be practice and submitting a project proposal for the MAC. So Blake, do you have a social science committee meeting scheduled where maybe we could bring
The
this
next
up?
one is January 31st, I think.
Okay. So that would still give us, if we brought it up at that meeting, and could we give like a five 5 or 10 minute presentation to that group and ask for partners or leadership?
Yeah, you're welcome to. I can't imagine you'd be able to get somebody on board and like put a proposal together in time for T-Birth, though.
That's true, yeah. Do you think that's an effective way to use that group? Is that how you would like that subcommittee to be used, or?
Yeah, yeah, that's certainly, something that we can do. The subcommittee is interested in finding ways to connect the research that they do to, actual community needs. And we've got lots of folks that are interested in outreach, and community benefits, community involvement in their work. And we've got a lot of people that do research in education. Um, so, some of them like are certain types of education. Um, so for some of those more niche researchers, maybe not a ton of overlap, but yeah, and they're interested, and so many of them told me that they're hoping to use this subcommittee to find projects for their undergraduates, their graduate students, and even their PhD students. So, it maybe not necessarily immediate collaboration, but even just, putting stuff out there, being like, hey, this is, a project that we have on our mind that we'd really like to do, then, over the next year or so, if they get an undergraduate that says, hey, I really want to do a project about manatees, and they're like, normally I don't do anything but with manatees, but just so happens that,
Yeah.
this Manatee Awareness Coalition is looking for researchers to do stuff. So, you know, it's always an avenue. How
Okay.
responsive it might be, I'm not sure, but can definitely put it out there.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think really the TBRF deadline is just more of like having a goal set in mind. But if I think we can create an application for TBRF that maybe isn't ideal and also pitch it to the social science committee. So I think we can do both. I don't think we need to hold up one for the other, for example. Well, let me get back over here. Yeah, so we just gave a little update on the outreach planning that's going on. The next meeting is scheduled for Tuesday, November 21st, which is the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. So I am going to reach out to y'all on the working group to see if anyone is planning to come to that or if you're not, and then we'll reschedule probably. So just keep an eye out for that email. Denise, I saw your message. I wrote that down. Thank you. Just a couple of announcements. There's an Eco Summit in Sarasota in December. The tickets for that are like half off right now, so I think it's $75 total. Seems like a great slate of panels and speakers. I'm going to go to it for one of the days, so check it out. We also have the Habitat Restoration Consortium meeting coming up on December 6th. So if you are involved in habitat restoration, especially maybe as it relates to manatees, warm water refugia, that sort of thing, please do come. We would love to have your input and figure out how we can help make more of that happen, whether it's funding or finding partners, overcoming other barriers. It'd be great to have you. There's also a film screening for a film called Splash of Color on January 6th. That'll be followed by a panel discussion. That film screening is started by, run by, created by the Blue Gap Project, and the film is about getting people of color into outdoor recreation, and I think it's going to be a little bit about tying that recreation and love of the outdoors to environmental issues and how we can have individually and collectively impact on environmental issues. So come to that. It's going to be in St. Pete on January 6th. And the last thing that I have is the TBRF opens January to March, like we've been talking about a little bit. So make sure to spread the word to others that may be interested in applying for that. I think the next MAC meeting will be January or February. Maybe we'll schedule it for after the social science subcommittee, or maybe even encourage the MAC members to attend the social science subcommittee to be there for that discussion, and maybe that can be almost in lieu of a MAC meeting in January or February, so we're not doubling up too much on people. that's all the announcements that I have. So how about y'all? Anything you would like to throw out there and let everybody know about? Any events, volunteer needs, anything like that coming up? The Manatee thing in St. Pete. Are you talking about the statewide forum, Linka? Probably.
Yes.
Okay. Yep, that is November. I'll send you the info as well.
Cool. Thank you.
Yep.
Did you say when the environmental restoration fund was opening, like an exact date?
I don't have an exact date yet. It's probably going to be like the 15th of January to like roughly the 15th of March. Usually
Okay,
have it open for a couple months. Yep.
sounds good.
Mhm.
It's not till February, but Marine Quest is going to be from February 8th through the 10th. So if you guys are interested in coming to that, it's a really fun event. It's open to the public on Saturdays.
Yeah, has anyone been to Marine Quest?
It goes on at like the same time as the St. Petersburg Science Festival as well.
Yeah,
But
why don't you tell people a little bit about it, Frank? I don't know if
sure.
anyone else has been to it.
So it's basically like an open house for the Fish and Wildlife Research Institute, and each section of our agency has a little like booth or like a table display set up, and it's all about like educating the public about like what we do, what we're all about, educating people about our different programs, the species that we're studying. Sometimes people bring specimens, sometimes there's like touch tanks, and there's like activities for kids there. There's like games, there's like all kinds of, it's basically just like a big open house, kind of like a science fair, but it's a lot of fun. I mean, even
Yeah.
though like last year I was working the fisheries dependent monitoring table, when I had free time, I really got out and looked at what everybody else was doing. And one of my favorite highlights was going into like the labs, because the labs upstairs in the joint use building, they had all kinds of like little like interactive things that you could like see and touch and all that. So that was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
I love Marine Quest. It's pretty fun. What are
Mm-hmm.
the dates again?
It's February 8th through the 10th, but the 8th and the 9th are just for school days. So those are just for
Right.
public school and private school students. But
So
the 10th is open to the public.
And actually, I have always been at Marine Quest, so I never made it to the St. Pete Science Festival. So maybe I'll actually get to go to that this year. We'll see. Any other announcements, y'all? Cool. Well, that is it for today. I will reach out to those of y'all in the outreach working group to see if we need to reschedule that Thanksgiving week meeting or keep it, and we'll go from there. Then once the working group has a little better idea of how we would like to move forward, we'll decide when to do the next full MAC meeting, whether that be January, February, maybe even March, but sometime early next year. So we will stay in touch. Please reach out if there's any items you want to put on the next MAC agenda. Feel free to send them my way. Otherwise, thank you all, and I will talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Jessica, could I ask you a quick question before you log off? It's just about the invite you sent today and why people might be having complications.
Yeah, let me stop the recording real quick.